stay.
Now I'm sinking
Down and down and down all around you. Pressure's on today.
She don't know
What her friends will say.
they're so cold.
What does it matter anyway?
Who really knows?
Autumn counts down its days.
Begins to snow.
Down and down and down all around you. My interlude. You washed upon my shore.
Crushing in,
I felt you in my bones.
broken thin.
Come what will, come what may.
This I know.
I will ease your pain.
When you fall,
Down and down and down all around me. Yeah. My interlude. My interlude. Oh, my interlude.
That's Interlude. That is from He Said, She Said. Those guys are from like Walkerton, Ontario, Hanover, in that area. If you know the area, you should go and stop and see this guy up there at Walker's Landing. They have a great restaurant there. They have awesome food, great service. Jess and Shane are both servers there. You know, you can maybe meet them in person, you know. Who knows? Maybe we could do something at Walker's Landing sometime when their CD comes out, where you can go in there and get them to sign the CD. That would be cool, right? Stop in at Walker's Landing for an appetizer and a drink and get your CD signed. There's an opportunity right there. I see it. I mean, you know, these are the kinds of things that we talk about in the independent world in terms of reinventing ourselves and doing something that makes a difference. I'm just trying to, I know why I'm kind of in the dark here. So I'll flip that around in a second. I've got to go flip on some lights that I forgot to turn on in the studio here. But we got this guy in the green room. His name's Shane Sawyer. He was with a band way back in the day. One of my very first, I wouldn't even call him a client, just part of my family. And when he came and joined Indie Tunes Records way back in the day, we'll talk a little bit about that project tonight, where that led him musically, and you know, maybe give you guys some insights, or who knows, maybe spark some memory from your experience as well. And if you got a memory, we want you to share it with us in the chat room tonight. So if you have a memory of when you played live in another band or another gig before you're doing what you're doing now, we want to hear from you. We'd like to hear what your thoughts are on that tonight. But we're going to talk about some stuff that is sort of technical, and yet it's not. We're going to talk about derivative works tonight, works that are derived from original works by artists. And there seems to be, I don't know, a whole bunch of controversy about this right now. And there's people, you know, gaslighting people on this whole thing. And it's more of this hate Spotify stuff because it's Spotify driving all this stuff. And I'm telling you, you got to give up on this stuff. Okay. These streaming services are making their shareholders billions of dollars every year. They're not going anywhere. Spotify stock has almost tripled since they went on the market in 2018. So if you really wanted to make money on Spotify, you should have bought some of their stock because you'd probably be making more money off your stock options you'd be making off your music, or maybe a little bit of both. You own the company, like the guy from the hair club. Anyway, we're going to talk about a whole bunch of stuff tonight. And here's Shane. He's all the way in Walkerton. Hey, buddy.
Hey, what's up?
Great to have you here on the show.
Oh, thanks, man. You're talking about hair club for men. I don't know anything about that.
Is that guitar behind you? Is there a guitar behind? No.
There's 4, but which one do you want to?
Where's the one that's in the video? You don't have it there anymore.
No, I don't. The one in the video we just saw.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know I do. That's my that guy's got history. That's my practice guitar.
That's like an Ovation, isn't it?
Yeah, I have another Ovation over here too.
Right.
That one I adopted from Lars. Lars from Coach for my best friend, one of my best friends.
Right.
When he wanted to write an album I had never written before, and when he said, "Hey, do you want to write an album?" I'm like, "Yeah, that'd be cool. I need 3 chords." And he literally handed me that. he handed me that guitar, and he's like, "Okay, get going." So I'm like, "Okay."
When was this? When was this?
This would have been 2012.
So is this like the pre-birth of Coaching for Sarah?
That's exactly how it started.
Okay. So you knew. So you didn't play guitar up until that point.
No, like never.
Really?
No, God, no. I was like, oh man, no, not at all. Not even at a campfire.
So you're like a late bloomer when it comes to this stuff.
Well, to guitar, yeah, for sure.
So here's an interesting thing I just want to tell you about. So interlude, we're going to put that interlude out. We're going to put it out on Instagram. We're going to put it out on Facebook.
Yeah.
So people can watch the video in different formats, because now we've done a whole copyright thing, and this is kind of at the crux of what we're going to talk about tonight. Right. Is how we have learned, and you and I have learned, buddy, haven't we?
Oh, we're continuing to learn.
I mean, you and I bumped heads a couple of times.
Yes, as strong-headed people do.
And it's because we're both passionate about what we do.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
We're very passionate about our stuff.
Yeah, there's a passion about that. When you're passionate about something, you speak with conviction, and you sometimes feel like there's something on the line there.
Yeah, it's very true. It's part of your it's your livelihood, and it's just it's your identity.
Yeah,
so you're passionate about to keep that going.
And whether you're full-time or not as a musician, once you make that realm into professional musician,
right?
Which is, to me, the real realm is you begin the songwriting process, and you begin, the recording process and the learning process that comes with that. I mean, think of the learning that you've amassed since 2012 when Lars first approached you.
Oh my God. Like, I can't even I don't even know where to begin.
I'd love to have Lars on the show sometime.
Oh, I'd love to have Lars on the show.
That would be so much
fun. Listen, Lars, if you're watching, we know this, and I wouldn't say anything that I wouldn't say in front of your face. You're a very shy man, and you don't like being on the camera. I'm just putting it out there, Ken. I highly doubt we'd get him on here.
I wonder
for that reason.
I would absolutely love to get him on the show. And one of the reasons that I'd love to get him on the show is he is learning to become a producer.
He's learned so much, and he loves it. Like, he's actually loves it. Like, he turned his shed into his own little kind of man cave, but it's a studio. And he loves right now. Like, I was talking about maybe even starting like a Coach Sarah up again or anything like that. And he really misses the interaction of being in a room with another musician. And that's not what would happen because I live too far away. But he said he's extremely happy with what he does right now. And he literally will have his kids like say, "Hey, what song do you want me to record and cover?"
Right.
Like Britney Spears, whatever. Like, it can be, like, their kids are in a bunch of different things. And they'll say, try to do a version of this. So he'll go and he'll record all the instruments himself. and he'll do his own version or own cover of this song, and he'll show it to me. I'm like, dude, these are great. So that's what he does. He likes doing that stuff. So he's really into the production of things right now. So he's really learning a lot. He knows a lot, and he's learning even more every day.
So our stoner band, I would call it more of a stoner
Green
band, Green Ink. We're putting out our 7th single this month.
Oh, nice.
Actually, it actually comes out next month. It'll come out the 25th of April, same as your new track.
Oh yeah, we're going to have some competition.
Right, we have a little bit of competition there.
That's right.
And the song that we're going to be putting out on the 25th of April is called Madness.
Okay.
It's about how crazy the world has gotten, and the only way that we can uncrazy the world is we have to work together.
Well, it's definitely relevant. That's for sure.
We got to find out. We got to figure our shit out as a people, and stop letting ourselves be divided by the things that divide us, but be united by the things that unite us.
I completely agree with that. Peace and
you
love.
And I bleed the same color, brother.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
We all.
The thing is, I mean, when it comes to the way the world is right now, being as divided is, when it comes to, for me personally, this is just me. When it comes to religion or politics, I have my opinions on both, but I try not to indulge in it too much.
Yeah,
only because
it's crazy.
Not because I'm afraid of offending anyone or afraid someone's not going to like me because of what I have to say. There's a lot of things that, yes, we can do to change things ourselves, but there's not me. I like to focus on a lot of the positive things,
right?
My music, my work, my friendships, right? Things that are close to home.
Yeah.
I'll watch from afar. I'll have my opinions from afar, but for me personally, politics and religion are very strongly a matter of opinion.
Yep.
And it's very hard to change someone's matter of opinion, no matter what you say.
You agree with me that, if a musician has something political to say, use your music as a vehicle to talk about your thoughts, your feelings about those things.
I agree.
And talk about the things you want to see change, not things that polarize us. So, for example, the lyric in this song,
the punk era did that.
Yeah, I mean,
they ranted and raved, and they got somewhere with it.
Here's the intro. Here's the chorus to the song. I don't know what's become of us. The world has changed among us. Anger and distrust, unrest and sadness. It's up to us, people, to end this madness. This madness. Oh yeah, this madness. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. You got to put in the oh yes.
And so it talks to how we can be a vehicle to change things and make things change for the better. And I believe that music is one of those vehicles.
Music is it reaches people in crazy ways.
Well,
I mean in every emotion, right? And connects you in deeper levels than that too with
I'll give you some emotion right now. On the 16th of April, you better tune in because Rick Emmett's on the show.
I love Rick.
Your idol.
Hi, Rick.
Rick Emmett, formerly of Triumph. Rick Emmett, a solo artist.
Best bands in the world.
We are going to be talking about his new book called 10 Telecaster Tales.
Love that.
And I got into the meat of the book last night. So he sent me like the liner notes for it, right? Like the approval books. There, whoa. And so I got into the book right away, and then I thought there'd be a point in the book where he starts talking about the production of the songs, because there are 10 instrumentals that are done on a custom built Telecaster guitar.
Okay,
that's it. Just a Telecaster guitar and a basic combo amp. That's it.
I love it.
Bare bones, right?
Yeah.
10 tracks. Anyways, I'm getting into the meat of the book, and I start reading this one section where he starts talking about how the songs are produced, and I started playing the tracks over my headset while I'm reading the book.
Right.
It's like
listening to it as he's explaining how.
Oh man, it was like a whole different part of my brain opened
it's like the commentary of a movie or something.
I'm listening to the music, which is complementary to what he's writing in the book.
That's trippy.
And it's blowing my freaking mind.
That is cool.
because there like as he's playing, as I'm listening to the tracks, he's talking about the tracks in the book, and I'm reading about it, but I'm hearing it.
That's cool.
Right.
Very cool.
And then there's that whole thing in there, where you go, wow, this is an awesome piece of work, even though most people would expect, hard rock from Rick Emmett, right?
Well, not really. Like, I mean, he's done a lot of classical stuff too. Like his
And
classical guitar
jazz.
playing is everything. Like,
Yeah.
guy is it's ridiculous how much this guy can do on the guitar.
I think
Absolutely ludicrous.
I think I was listening to some of his catalog, and I think the latest heavy rock from him was about 2017, thereabouts.
Yeah.
And everything else has been like combination of jazz and this these
Well,
sort of
he's with that band. He was with the band. I don't know if he's still with them, called Res 9 as well. And so it's like it's kind of his band, but he plays with other musicians, and it's pretty good, man. It's pretty heavy too.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to talk to him, see if he's still involved in any other projects.
Because I think he was with Res 9, what their name was.
My understanding last time he was on the show, we were not talking so much about that, but we'll find out on the 16th of September.
I'm not. Well,
April.
I'll tune in.
April 16th. He'll be on the show here. So
Rick Emmett, my calendar right now.
Rick Emmett, formerly of Triumph, a power trio band that probably would have superseded. Well, they did in many ways, because they were playing massive venues.
They were
before Rush was
an arena band.
Before Rush was, man.
Yeah.
They were playing massive to massive audiences.
Plus, yeah.
Yeah, and played down in California and some of the big California festivals and all kinds of arena.
And all well deserved too.
Yeah.
These guys, all three of them are extremely talented musicians.
Anyways, he, in the book, he talks about going into his 6th decade of recording. I mean, how crazy is that, right? And he describes in the book, he talks about, as an artist, and you might relate to this as you get older, right? I know that I do. And he said, is it somebody still got more to give, or is it the other way around? You know what I'm saying?
Sorry, what?
Well, like you change as you go along through life, right?
Right. Okay. Yeah.
And what you end up putting out, does it show growth, or does it show you moving back into your comfort zone? Are you still growing?
Right.
That's
a good one.
I mean,
yeah, you don't want it. You try not to repeat yourself with writing and stuff. But sometimes, if it works, right? Like, okay, look at AC/DC, right? All their songs. Okay, so there's an interview with Angus Young, and the guy said something like, he goes, "Oh, it's this type of song, blah blah," and he goes, "Yeah, I've reviewed your album." He's like, "So you've written 13 songs that all sound the same," and Angus Young goes, "No, we've written 10 albums that sound the same."
Yeah, but when you got a formula, it works.
That's right.
Yeah.
For their audience and stuff like that, like, yes, they're going to write the riffs and big beat, like that's their thing. That's how it's AC/DC.
Unlike software developers, musicians do take on the approach of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas software developers are, if it's not broke, we got to make it better.
We got to make it. Yeah.
And then it usually becomes somewhat dysfunctional while they're trying to figure
Windows
it out.
11. Thanks for that. Thank you.
We're going to be forced on to Windows 11. I'm not really digging that. They're ending support on my other
strong
computer.
Enough for it, so I'm stuck with Windows 10.
Well, I'll stick with Windows 10 as long as I can get a reboot on it, because it's been reliable. I haven't really had any real issues.
Me either. Knock on wood. But yeah.
So why the upgrade?
Yeah, I was over at Lars. I was putting drum tracks down to some songs, and he had just recently downloaded Windows 11, and he's already frustrated with it. Like,
I think what they're trying to, I think what they do is they recognize, like, I know that Windows is trying to become a lot more defensive so that
Yeah.
you don't have to go out and purchase separate antivirus. They want something really well built into Windows that
Right.
protects you from ransomware and all that other stuff, right?
Right.
So they're constantly putting on these security patches and shit like that.
I swear to
It's
God, people like.
frustrating.
I think they're just people are getting just paid to just do stuff, like make up stuff. Oh, I think we
It's
need this because I get this much money, so I better go do it.
right. So I sent you a video, right? With
Yes.
without
Yes.
mentioning any
No.
names.
No, we will not.
Just give me your general impressions of what the person on the video was talking about.
So at first when he sent it to me, I was kind of on the side of this person. I was at first, right? At first.
Right.
But then when I replied to you, I'm like, that was crazy. And then you're like, not really. And then it made me think. I'm like, well, hold on a second, wait. And you both have your arguments, but I know where you're going with on this. You're going with these people that say they can, I don't, like he's called it gaslighting. They're talking about Spotify as if it's this evil thing, and what they can do with your music, and we've all signed up with, and we don't know about it.
Right.
Right. And
Exactly.
I was just like, well, hold on a second. Like, because yeah, we kind of know about it, but it's she's making it sound a lot worse than what it is.
Well,
you know what I mean?
and I have to tell you, here's an interesting thing. She uses this individual uses a story, right?
Right.
That's based on an artist. We're not going to name that
Right.
artist.
And you're talking about the very beginning of the clip.
Yeah, and the artist has said, I'm leaving Spotify because they're screwed me out of all this
Well,
money.
I've had this billion amount of streams or something.
Right.
And I made this amount of money, and
I got billions of streams, and I got $45,000.
Basically, he feels he was getting ripped off, and if that is the case, if that story is true, then yeah, it's a big deal.
There's
right?
there's a recourse for that, and there's also an explanation for that. And here's the thing: that Spotify doesn't pay necessarily to the artist if the artist is not the rights holder.
Right, but I mean, how many artists are on there that they don't get anything?
Because their label is the rights holder. And they've already got an agreement with the label that says, we're going to pay you this amount of money. No matter how many streams you get, no matter what, we're going to pay you this amount of money.
Okay.
Right? So for the label, streaming sometimes is a lost leader for them.
What does that mean for like the independent artists? So those the ones with the big record labels and stuff. Yeah, that's all legal stuff behind the scenes.
But here's the thing.
A lot of people don't know about.
Those major record labels negotiated all the deals that you all get as independents,
right.
And you have no say in it, because when the streaming services started, they never started with the intention to serve you guys or me as an independent artist. They started with the intention that they were going to serve the mainstream artists and the major labels.
Right.
Okay? So that's how it all started, right? Remember, you got like LimeWire, and you got, go back,
Napster.
And Napster gets shut down, right? There's that lawsuit between Lars, right? Lars Ulrich.
Not my Lars. Not my Lars.
No, Lars Ulrich from Lars Ulrich from
Metallica.
Metallica, and everybody's hating on him for it. And all he's really trying to do is protect the rights of right owners,
and that's what's it was this catch-22 scenario, right? Because like he's there because this is my job, and of course we want our fans to hear the music.
Okay,
but you don't come into a restaurant, order your favorite dish, and expect to get it for free.
So, but here's the whole thing.
You pay for it.
But here's the whole thing. You get paid exactly what the mainstream artists get paid per stream. Nobody gets anything different.
The difference is the mainstream
volume.
Artists, the mainstream, exactly.
It's
the
volume.
Mainstream artists are going to get streamed way more than little me, right? And that is not uncommon, right? Everyone should know that. And
if you're selling billions of tracks, do you think the guy only selling 100 tracks should make the same as you?
No,
of course not. Because again, it's about trying to build an organic following and get people to interact with your music.
It's a different world than how we
But when all these we got to kind of go back historically and talk about how these things came to be in the first place, because everybody just thinks that they appeared like magic, and they didn't.
No, it came over time.
So you've got Spotify that says, "Hey, we're going to start up a streaming and download service. We don't know how this is going to work, but we need a major catalog of music in order to start up a streaming service."
Right.
So what do they
Yeah.
do? So what do they do?
Go to labels.
Right. They go to the three major labels that own everything, right?
Yep.
So you've got Universal Group, you've got
Lana.
Sony
Part of that.
Entertainment, Sony
Warner
Entertainment,
Brothers. Warner.
probably more like Columbia.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And so you've got these major record labels that negotiate a deal, and they say, okay, we want this much per stream for our artists,
Right.
recognizing that their artists aren't going to get hundreds of streams. Their
Right.
artists aren't going to get thousands of streams. Their artists aren't going to get 10,000 streams. Their artists are going to get hundreds, millions, and billions of streams.
Right. So it looks really good.
Right. So if you're getting paid on 1 billion streams,
Mhm.
you can't pay the artist $1 a stream, because now you have to pay that one artist $1 billion. That's just not going to happen.
No.
Right? You go broke
No.
really fast. So
Yeah.
they had to determine a remuneration system that would not break the bank and would be attractive to shareholders, because they also knew that they needed money to build the infrastructure.
Right.
No one knows how many billions of dollars it cost Daniel Ek to put Spotify together, but I'm going to tell you, it's probably in the billions.
You think so?
Oh, because it's built on Python, which is one of the fastest systems known to the internet, man. It's so fast. And
So
that's
does he? So he had to buy Python then?
No, they had to build it on a platform called Python.
Oh, Python. Okay.
So he's paying computer programmers, right, $200 an hour to build him this platform.
Right.
Multiply that times
Then
100.
what about like Facebook?
Well, it's the same thing. It takes billions of dollars to develop these things. That's
Right.
why they've got to develop alternate sources of revenue. That's why Facebook has ad revenue and all that shit, right?
Right. Right.
And all this boils down to these deals that happened way back when, and everybody blames the major labels, but it's never would have happened if the labels not been there in the first place.
Right.
Because there would have been nothing attractive for, companies to put billions of dollars into streaming services with the idea that they're not going to make any money. Who's going to invest in that?
Yeah, I know.
Right?
I know. Yeah, I know.
I mean, if you knew the Titanic was going to sink, would you have bought shares in the Titanic?
Some days I want to take a risk,
but you wouldn't, right?
No.
And so they were also knowing that they had to put market shares on. So when Spotify went on the open market, it was something like $188 a share.
Really?
Yeah. And I'm going to just do it while I'm right now. What is Spotify stock worth today?
I don't know.
What do you think?
I don't know.
Well, here we go. Okay, it's sitting at $576.35 a share.
That's not bad.
And when it went on the market originally, I think, hang on a second. I'm going to see what was Spotify's original market. Stock costs, I guess.
Cost of stocks.
Yeah, so Spotify opened at $165 a share when they started trading April 3rd, 2018.
Huh.
Okay. And so now their stock has basically tripled, more than tripled, almost quadrupled.
Jeez.
Right? So so in order for them to raise capital money, they've got to have investors.
Yeah.
If those investors don't make money, they're going to sell their stock.
Right.
Right? So the investors have got to be able to make money. There's so many people dependent on the payroll of companies like Spotify or iTunes or Deezer or Tidal that there's a lot of people there to get fed from that one big company. There's a lot of jobs and there's a lot of salaries involved in those jobs that
Right.
that people are getting. And people go, "Oh, well, Daniel Ek owns Spotify." He doesn't. Spotify is largely owned by BlackRock and Vanguard and all these
Right.
massive investment firms, where if you own investment stock, you probably have a share in there somewhere.
Well, yeah, of course. Yeah.
So, anyways, what I'm getting at is all these rights things that had to be given up. So the record labels had to provide rights to the streaming service to exploit the artist's work.
Right.
Right? Which is essentially what you do with me as a record label. You're giving me license to exploit your work.
Yes.
Right? So that's kind of this whole idea of derivative works. I'm coming around this a long ways, but that's really kind of how derivative works. Spotify now is putting out this thing, and so are other streaming services, by the way, where people can take bits and pieces of your song and do it as a mashup with other artists' music, get creative with it, blah, 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 whatever, right? And the argument is, well, you won't get any money off that. Those people are going to be the one to profit from it. They can't profit from it if your music is properly fingerprinted.
Right.
Okay. And we use an electronic fingerprint that is foolproof.
Right. So that way, if they do something like that, it won't go to them. It will automatically go to the artist if they've got the copyright.
And what's it called, class? What's that number called?
Oh, it's the is that the SCW1?
No, it's the ISRC.
ISRC. I don't know my alphabet.
International Standard Recording Code.
Ken. I don't know that stuff. I don't know what alphabet.
Right. But that was the learning. That was the learning that went into what we did.
You're always asking for it from me when I put it in your phone.
What you and I did right from the inception. I mean, you came to me way back with coaching for Sarah, and said, "Hey, we'd like you to release our music."
Right.
Right. It's already been out there a year. You were my first really test case because your music was hard to market because you had already released it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
so right. And of course, way back when I started doing this, I didn't know shit about
think about that. It was 10 years ago.
It's all changed over the 10 years too.
We had physical CDs that we sold at shows and in the record stores, right? And I think I have one somewhere. I don't know, but yeah, that's how it was done.
So the rules are constantly changing with all of this stuff. But what I've learned
in this
world, and the thing was, working with you taught me a lot of things. And sometimes I know I stressed you out because I go, "Well, do you have this?" And you're like, "No." Should I have it?
I'm learning this as we go too, man.
Should I have it? And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, why is that important?
Here's my music. Just do something with it.
That's kind of what everybody was doing when they were doing the DIY publishing. They were getting these ISRCs, but they weren't registering their ISRCs anywhere.
Right.
Right. So
not going to get any royalties that way.
If you own the ISRC, it doesn't matter when you register them. You can register them whenever you want because you're the owner of the ISRC. But if you want to be able to claim
that's that electronic fingerprint you were talking about.
Yeah. So if you want to claim all the royalties related to that recording, right? Because it's an international standard recording code.
Right. So it's coded that way. And then if that goes out into the world, anytime it's played by someone who gives royalties out through SoCan, what have you, that's the code that comes up.
It's also
so what you're saying is someone matches those like two songs and one of them's coded, one of them's not. The one that's coded, the royalties, if of any royalties, would go to the band that's coded. It's not.
And we also use another piece of metadata in there, which is called the ISWC.
Right, that's the one I was trying to say.
The T code, and it always starts with the letter T as in Tom, and it denotes the ownership of the written work itself.
Right.
Okay. So there's two pieces of publishing that an artist can own.
Okay.
Oftentimes, artists aren't even the owners of their own works. So, for example, when this artist claimed that he didn't get the compensation that he was supposed to get, what we didn't hear about was who had the ownership of the publishing related to the actual wave master. Who owns the wave master?
Right.
Oftentimes, it's not the artist that owns the wave master
No,
because
you're
there's a recoupable involved in that, and the label owns that. Okay.
Right. That's
So
where.
so that's where the artist won't get paid. It'll go straight to the label because they will be registered as the rights owner to the master recording,
So that's where the money will go.
which typically is the largest share of the money. The stuff that gets collected by SOCAN and other companies based on airplay on terrestrial radio, that's peanuts.
I know. It's crazy.
Most of it is going to come off the actual work itself. Now, when it can come off the written work itself, let's say Brian Adams hears one of your songs and says, I want to record that song. Now you can sell him the mechanical rights to record your song because you own the written works.
Right.
Now, if he was going to do a derivative work, that derivative work would have to be so vastly different from your original works, right? That you could still put
a different song.
Right. So you'd have an option of a couple of things. You could put a copyright claim, right? And a copyright claim just gives you your writer's rights to all the royalties for writer's rights off that song.
Yeah, no matter what they do to it.
Right. So every time that song gets played, you're going to earn royalties off it because you actually end up owning the rights to that song.
Right.
Right. And a lot of times people will do that. Now they've got this more standardized approach to what the owner of the written work will get. So, for example, we're going to record an Aerosmith classic.
We are.
Right?
Okay,
well, my band is.
Okay.
And we're looking at putting that out as a single and getting the licensing for it.
Right.
Right. And as you know, I can apply for and get licensing.
Right. And because we talked about this before about Jess and I doing something.
Yeah. So licensing a cover tune is possible to be done. And what I'd like to do is I like to license it based for digital downloads and streaming only. Right.
Okay.
And so we license it for download and streaming. And the rights owner gets paid before we even get a penny.
Right.
But the rights owner only gets a percentage, and it's a very small percentage compared to what you can still earn off a cover tune.
Right.
Because remember,
that for me, I mean, something like that, I wouldn't expect really any money. That would just be for fun.
But you can
to release it, to record it.
But you can earn off it because it is not just a derivative work, right? It's your own interpretation of the song, and all you've done is bought the rights to record it.
Right.
Right. You're not asking for the master's rights.
No.
To the song. You're asking for the written work because you're not going to change the lyrics. You're not going to change the melody, but you're going to put your own spin on it and record it.
Right.
Right. Now you can claim majority of ownership on that song, but share the writer's rights with the rights owner.
Interesting.
Right? And so
of that version of the song.
So it's called mechanical rights. Think about it. When Jimi Hendrix wrote, when he recorded All Along the Watchtower,
right.
Bob Dylan got writer's credits on that song.
Right, of course.
Right?
That makes sense.
And it was just another interpretation of the song, and that's how, Dylan's explanation about it when they interviewed
I've always wanted to do that with fellow my peers, right? Our fellow indie artists is like, I want to cover one of your songs our way, how we would do it. And
right.
you guys cover one of our songs, how you would do it. I think that would be really fun. Just
That would be kind of fun to
have
do.
a bunch of bands, throw your songs in a hat, and then they just pick a song,
And do our own mashup.
do their own version of it.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay. So
Like Jess
their
and I,
own
for
their own
instance,
recorded
are
version
mostly
of it.
acoustic stuff. So we could do an acoustic version of like a Boiler Beach song.
There
Right.
you go.
Or they could do a punk version of Time Well Spent or something. Like it'd be hilarious. I think
And everybody does their own recording. And we put on a compilation.
Yeah. I think that'd be kind of fun.
That would be interesting. That would be an
I've
interesting.
always wanted to do that. I think that would just be
well. We got enough artists on the label to do it now.
Yeah.
You know, we've got 28 and counting. I think almost 30 artists on the label now. So
that's good.
I can't keep up.
You're
it's
one man.
Nuts.
You're only one man.
Yeah, it's a one man show, and for a number of reasons. A, because the label doesn't make a lot of money.
No.
B, because I'm a control freak, and I like to make sure that.
Yeah, but you're an honest control freak, obviously.
Well,
into it.
I am an honest control freak. I just like to make sure that things are done right, and I like to cross my T's and dot my I's, and again, I always worry about the stuff I don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
I worry about the stuff I don't know all the time.
I mean, people, you know,
no reason worrying about the stuff you know.
People reach out to me at Indie Tunes Records because, you know, they think that I'm this sort of guru that knows so much about publishing, but it's just been a learned process.
The more you read about stuff, the more you know.
Well, but I mean, working through this stuff with guys like yourself on the label has taught me a great deal too.
Right. I've learned.
Right?
Like I mean,
you know, you were the first one. You were the first one, I think, that became part of one of my wreckage days when I said to you, "Is the master track used on that video encoded?" Do you remember me saying that?
No. When was that? I
don't know. It was a video you submitted, and we were gonna put it up. And I said,
"Was it a Koji for Sarah video?"
No. I think this was a He Said She Said video.
Okay, probably the first one we did then.
I could have been. And I messaged to you, and I said, "Are you using the encoded Wave Master?" And and you said, "What's that?" And I said,
"I don't know if I said what's that." I was like, "No." I just went, "No."
No, I don't. No, I use the Wave Master we have. I said, "Well, that's not the encoded one." Right. And I remember I put you through that whole process.
And this is why musicians just plug in and play.
But here's an interesting thing, though. You were part of that learning because there was an epiphany.
I know.
There was an epiphany that came to me, and I thought, wait a minute. I know what I asked you, because I asked you, is that are you using the encoded Wave Master? Does it have the metadata? And you said, I'm not sure.
The metadata, that's what the part I understand.
Yeah.
I knew everything else you're talking, but when you said metadata, I'm like, what the hell is a metadata? I didn't get it. I didn't know what you meant.
Yeah, and then so I'm like, okay. Then we had that conversation, and then I realized, no, you did not have an encoded track because I didn't encode it and send it back.
And I sure as hell didn't, because I didn't even know what that meant.
So for those of you that are listening, what we do now is we encode Wave Masters that are used in all of our artists' works. So whether that's used in videos or they're going to use it to radio submissions or whatever. So we use high-res MP3s for radio submissions only, and we only use the Wave Masters for reproducing audio that we want highest quality possible. So like on Shane's and Jess's videos, on all of our artist videos, we use Wave Masters, and then we submit Wave Masters now, high-res Wave Masters, to the download and streaming services, because some of them don't compress the files, or some of them have, like, for example, iTunes has all the original whatever you submitted in. So you're listening to a WAV file on iTunes.
Right.
So listen to a track on iTunes and then go and listen to the same track on Spotify and tell me if you hear a difference.
It'll be different.
Because you should probably on Spotify hear more compression.
Yeah, WAV files.
You'll hear way more dynamic range, like you're right in the room while the artist is recording the song.
Like it's as close as 2-inch tape can get. When we used to record the 2-inch tapes, those sound, or vinyl, like that, those sounds are great. But
wait until you hear Atmos mixes.
Atmos.
Yeah, Atmos. That's like 10 channel mixes.
Oh,
Yeah, it's like it's surround sound with speakers above your head as well.
right.
So when you go and watch like, Top Gun on it,
Okay, yeah, I see what you're saying.
you get the whole jet effect as
So
they're
it's
flying
the
over you. Yeah.
surround sound thing going on.
Yeah, so they've been doing that in a few studios, and I know uh, I know there's a new Helix mix out there that's using Atmos, I believe.
Whoa,
So
interesting.
stay tuned for that, folks. There's a
Yeah,
whole lot of really great
a
stuff
lot of
happening
stuff
here
going on.
at the label. So getting to this business of licensing and derivative works. So derivative works are works taken from the original works, and this is what it was talking about. Taking how much can I take? And there's this whole thing. If you go on Google, how much can I take of a song before it's not a copyright infringement? Well, the answer to that is there is no length. There used to be this false thing that, I can take 10 seconds or 20 seconds.
Yeah,
It doesn't matter because the whole song is fingerprinted. And now they're using AI as recognition for your track. So once you
right.
publish your track, that's your copyright.
Well, that's just it. It's everything's time stamped, right? When you go digital, everything.
Everything. Once you go
Even
digital,
the saving CDs. When you burn a CD, right? It's time stamped. You
when
record it on your phone. If you've got a melody or a guitar riff or whatever, you record on your phone. It's got a timestamp there and a date. That's your copyright. That was the date. It's all to do with
so
the
and that's why we do these like 4-week releases. Like people will go, "Oh, I want this out like yesterday." And I'm like, "Well, no, I like 4 weeks before the song actually gets released from the time that we publish it. The longer that you have, the more likelihood that your music will be in all of the countries, in all of the um um what do you call it?
streaming services,
All the markets
right?
that we're into, right? So right now we're in 160 markets in over 195 countries.
Okay,
That's
that's good.
huge penetration, right?
Yeah, it
Uh,
is.
and as Mike Myers would say in Austin Powers, it's all about the penetration, baby.
Right, and just like that.
Just like that.
Yeah,
Interlude, for example. Okay, so
yeah.
Interlude has enjoyed 4,055 streams,
Let everyone know that was the video that he showed at the beginning of
and
this.
that was a re-release of that song,
Right,
right?
because and the funny thing about that is I wanted to re-release it because I was re-releasing the other ones. I went back into the studio and I wanted just a better like live drum sound. So that's the reason I went there. And so released the other three, re-released them, a couple new ones I think too. But Interlude, I ended up keeping the original copy anyway, because after the fact, I actually liked for that song in particular. The other ones were
Right.
good, redone, but that song I actually went back and enjoyed it more with what we already had. So the re-release was actually the original release. It was just re-released because I had a video that came out with it. So it's because it took me 2 years to animate it. So
Here's an interesting thing. So I'm going to take a look here at location for He Said, She Said. This is just a prime example, okay? So in the last 28 days, you've been listened to in 41 different countries.
there you go. And I wasn't.
And that never would have happened had it not been for the advent of services like
That is
Spotify and
very, very
iTunes and all
true.
those.
That is
So
very, very
So you got to remember when all this came out, way, way, way back when everything was in its infancy, right? So we got Napster and LimeWire being shut down, who were the largest file sharing services on the planet Earth.
yeah.
And now you got Spotify opening up, said we want your catalogs, and then iTunes offers the same deal. So next thing you know, all these major platforms are negotiating with the major labels about what they're going
Right.
to get paid on streaming services. Then along comes CD Baby, TuneCore, DistroKid, Ditto, and any other publishing service you can name, and says, "Hey, we can bring you market share."
Yeah.
Now, what does a publicly traded company say to that?
Okay.
Yeah, you're in, but
Yeah.
your artists are only going to get paid what we've already
That's got our
negotiated with the majors.
Yep. Yep.
right?
Yep.
Your artist will only get paid what we negotiate with the majors. You have no say in it,
Nope.
right? And
So it really comes down to, do you want to put it on Spotify or don't you?
well, here's the interesting thing, that when I look at what's happening right now on on Spotify for artists, and what I'm actually seeing shake out here, which is kind of interesting, because they've got this thing called Loud and Clear on Spotify for artists that they put out,
Okay.
and they're talking about what's actually happened in 2024.
Right.
So Spotify had the largest payout year ever. They paid out over $10 billion,
Right.
right? Last year. It was their largest payout year ever. In the decade of 2014 to 2024, Spotify yearly payouts to the music industry increased from 10 times. They started out at $1 billion. Now they're paying out over 10 billion. But there's only 500 million users. We're not talking we're not talking about a lot of premium users here.
Yeah, I found out, like, reaching out to people, trying to build my audience. I found out a lot of the people actually don't use Spotify as much as we think.
No.
They
And
don't.
yet Spotify is one of the largest streaming services. iTunes is the next one to that.
That makes sense.
And a lot of people that have iOS
I
devices,
feel iTunes that came out before Spotify.
I have had iTunes Family Plan forever,
Yeah, like it came out.
because I got kids who listen to music. My wife loves listening to music, so we bought a family plan. And we also have Apple TV because we
Remember I had
really,
the little either iPods or these
yeah,
things, and
and s-
yeah, from
and
your computer, bring up iTunes, you could download stuff into it.
yeah, and so
Yeah,
there's a lot of really cool things that they offered, and I also have a Spotify Premium account because I like what both services offer.
right,
They will both offer something a little bit different for everybody. And the
right,
one thing I like about Spotify is that their algorithms put music in front of you you might not have heard before.
right.
And
Yeah, I mean,
I discover new artists on here on Spotify all the time because of
yeah,
their
it's true.
because of
Yeah, I have.
discovery mode,
Yeah, I have for sure.
right? It's got a better discovery mode than iTunes does. And if you go into discovery mode, there's a whole lot you can learn. But I just wanted to just quickly talk about some of the things that happen. And there's been a real paradoxical shift in the music industry in itself, right? You got to think about this. When all this first started, it really did start just for mainstream artists and mainstream labels, and then it grew to independence, right? What the independent artists didn't realize is that those stream negotiations are non-negotiable, and they're based upon, Spotify has a budget, and they got a board of directors. They've got to meet certain financial financials every year in order for their board to approve their financials.
Right,
So it's a business, and yeah, they're in the business of making money. And so they've got to try and figure out a payout system that works best for them and best for the artist so nobody goes broke,
right.
right? And there's an opportunity, and it's all based on volume. Volume of
Always.
sales is the big thing. But I'm seeing that we're getting artists that are getting their share of that pie, and it's starting to materialize, and it's starting to grow. And I really like the fact that that's changed. We're getting artists now who are making decent payouts down to the 100,000 artist
That's crazy.
on Spotify, where they're getting some decent payouts, right? Some of them, got payouts of $6,000 or more off their music last year, right?
Something.
And it's something that they weren't getting before. But what they've also noticed that there's a massive increase. I think about $2 billion of that was independence.
Really?
So does that mean down the road that there is going to be a voice to represent independent artists at that table when royalties
I
come
mean,
up
there
for
should
discussion?
there
Well,
should
It's possible that it might be, and maybe they have to develop some sort of a two-tier system. But the thing is that
Like, how do you think? So, you know, everyone has Netflix or Crave or Prime, right?
right.
Uh, those movies that are on there, like, and I'm asking 'cause I legit don't know.
Yep.
Do the actors, directors, everyone worked on those films get some sort of cut from that?
Everybody gets something as part of their contract. Now,
But
some
what
people,
if they didn't?
well, if they didn't, they signed a bad contract.
I know, but what if Netflix just streamed a bunch of movies and no one got paid for it every time someone streamed?
Well, that wouldn't happen.
I know, but that's what's happening with Spotify with the indie some of the indie artists, right? They're not
Us-
getting anything.
They're not getting anything because they're not pushing any volume.
Right.
And you know what? Spotify is not responsible for selling their music. The artist is
No,
responsible
that's
for
true.
selling their music. Right?
Absolutely, you're right.
It's your product, and
But if
I
I
get
could, if I've got 2,000 people streaming Interlude,
yep.
right, but I didn't make anything off it. Where if they didn't have that service, they had to buy it and maybe liked it enough to buy it. But then again, who knows if they even listen to it then?
But if they really
But
like your music that well, go over to our website and download it.
they don't have to. They just download it on Spotify. It's free.
That's where you get it. That's where the artist gets a better return on that investment, right? I mean, if someone downloads it, you get paid a lot better for a download than you get paid for a stream.
So if I download a song, an artist gets paid for that. Or
Yes. Oh yeah, they're getting paid they're getting paid the download fee of the song. So if the download on the song is 99 cents, it's 99 cents.
but on Spotify,
It doesn't matter as long as it's downloaded by a premium member. It has to be downloaded by a premium member.
right? So say I have
Right.
a premium membership,
Yep.
and then I download one of my songs. I'm
Yeah.
going 99 cents for that. I'm
You
asking.
should. It should be reflected somewhere along the line in your royalty payouts. Right? Because it's a download. It gets counted by the catalog, whatever store ends up being reporting. So, for example, when I go into our financial reports for artists, right, and I look at our bank report in terms of, what we're getting paid for artists, I see. I'll go to excruciating detail and see the excruciating detail here. So where you get downloads, you can actually see fluctuations in the pay for the download,
Right.
right? And so there's a different payout that occurs for the download. There's also different payouts per country.
Right. That makes sense.
And that's all based on market share in that particular country.
Okay.
Right. So
how do you see this? So if I was being an indie artist, how would I see that?
You don't see that. I as a publisher get to see that breakdown and that detail.
Okay.
Right. I get to see that micro detail. And I've told artists this, but nobody ever listens because they're so busy making music. It's like
artists, we don't have time to listen.
It's like fucking herding cats, man. I'm telling you. It is like herding cats.
Squirrel.
Here's an interesting thing. So yeah, you can do it through Spotify. Spotify does. Jess is watching us, by the way.
Oh, hey, Jess.
But that's not through IndieTunes, right? Not through Spotify. So IndieTunes has a payout, right?
Right.
And the payout is it's $1 a download, right?
Right.
We're looking at doing different ways of exploring.
What Jess is asking, Spotify isn't.
So Spotify is if you're subscribed to Spotify Premium.
When you
download a song, it reflects differently in the payouts. You won't see that. You can't see that on Spotify for artists. I see that on the publishing side of things. That is a micro report that I can break down. So I can go down and I can go, he said, she said, all releases, display me all releases. Okay.
Right.
So here's a whole bunch. It's a massive spreadsheet, man. It goes like from end to end of the screen, right?
Yeah.
And it's breakdowns of songs and song downloads, right? And you can identify it by country. Sometimes I don't recognize the country of sale because they're weird, like OU. What is OU? I'd have to go and look at the code.
Oh, you silly. That's
I'd
what
have to
that's
look. I'd
the
have to
country of
look
oh
and see.
silly. Oh, you. It's
I
a
had to look at what
capital.
OU is. CA is easy. It's Canada. There's Denmark. There's the US. There's Australia. You can see those payouts and how those payouts vary. Some of them are 3 times larger, 4 times larger than others. And it can
Right.
be the same service, but in a different country.
Yes.
Right. So those are always seen in the micro payouts. We're also seeing things like Instagram and Facebook. Okay. Those are new reports now, and that is largely due to those derivative works where someone takes 30 seconds of a he said, she said song and puts it in the background of their reel.
Right.
Like I tell artists to do all the time that they never do. And
It's so funny because it's so true though. Because trust me, I've been wanting to do this forever. Jess and I are going to do a reel yesterday.
yeah,
And we ended up going to Owen Sound to visit my mom. So we just forgot, but it was on. Honest to God, it was on our.
I
agenda.
always tell people,
And
don't rehearse the reel. Just fucking do a
just
real
do it.
quick
I know.
reel.
I know.
Say, I'm here
And that was
doing
the
this. I
plan.
want to talk about this.
And-
And then you put your own music in the background.
And I told Jess,
Bingo.
like, every Wednesday we got to do a reel. Okay.
Yeah.
And we never do it.
And every time your reel gets played, you're going to earn royalties off that.
Yeah, I know. I know.
And not only do you don't earn the same as you do off regular royalties. How Instagram and Facebook, and of course we're on TikTok now. We publish to Snapchat as well, and we get reports from them as well. Those are all based on impressions.
Right.
Okay. So the more impressions you can get people to put on your videos, right?
Yep.
The more you can earn. Here's an opportunity for you to develop other revenue streams of earning.
Yeah, it's true.
Right?
It's true.
It's not just going to be on your streaming itself, which we know does not make a huge amount of money on its own, although it does after volume. We have bands this year, they're going to be recouping money this year because they're going to reach the threshold of sales. Right? And that's a very, very good thing. I have I have a couple of bands on the label that have reached threshold of sale several times. Right?
It can be done.
And it can be done. We have some artists now on the label themselves. See if I can find it. Go back to the home here and go over to our roster and take a really quick look. I want to have these guys on, but it's always hard to get them on because of the time change. They're called Ashes of Jupiter.
Oh yeah, I know them.
And those guys are out of Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Took a wrong turn at Albuquerque.
Yeah, that Bugs Bunny cartoon, right? And so you look at breakdown. So this is another way I can break it down and take a look at breakdown by artists.
Okay.
Right, where you can look at what your artists themselves earned, and also the units that they're selling. Right. So, for example, Ashes of Jupiter, off their whole catalog in this calendar year, right? 214,517 units.
Okay.
Right. And it works out to a significant amount of money.
Right.
Because they're not all streams. There's a lot of them in there that are downloads. When I go and do the breakdown on their payout sheet, they've already got one payout that helps subsidize one of their previous releases. So that's how significant the payout was for them.
Right.
So it can be done. And I know we're going to see it this year. We've got great market penetration this year. Last year, we had major breakthroughs last year where every artist, their catalogs and their interaction with their catalogs grew tremendously last year. I think you guys were like 400%. Right? But you got to remember, you guys are now on your 5th track.
Yeah.
So you're building
time, right?
Yeah, you're building a bit of a catalog. I wish you guys are putting out tracks more often because everything now is so, as you know, it's so based on content.
Yeah. and volume.
And
Like, yeah, how much you put out.
yeah, and
Absolutely.
YouTube, we can thank YouTube for that,
Yeah,
because they made everything content oriented,
that's true. Yeah,
right? Anyways, long story short on this derivative works thing, even if people are using mashups of your music or they're using derivatives of your music, as long as you have your music properly published and copyrighted, right down to the artwork, which we do, right?
which you're getting on Friday.
Yeah. And so that's really important. Even the artwork is embedded in our artists' wave masters and all
Yeah,
of their music that gets released. So there's so much information in that metadata that it's hard to dispute that that music doesn't belong to the artist.
right.
And in your case, and in all of our artists' case on our label, you not only own the writer's rights to your music, you own the recorded masters.
Yes,
So you were entitled to 100% of whatever you can earn. Whereas,
that's the way it should be.
right, you're not sharing with other writers, you're not sharing with other musicians, you're not sharing with session musicians, because everything is 100% paid for and owned by you.
That's
So
right.
the cool thing about that is that we can claim all those rights on your behalf. In fact, tonight, what's going to happen after we end the show is I'm going to get this thing in yellow. You won't see it, and it will say there's been a copyright claim against the video interlude and the soundtrack interlude.
Right.
Guess what happens when I click on it and go look at it? Whose publishing company do you think has put the claim?
You.
That's right. My own publishing
I
company
know.
has put the claim in it, and it's doing is as saying you can share the ad revenue with the rights owner. Well, why would I say no?
That with I tried to do that with a Coach Mercer song. We had an acoustic version of one of our
Yeah,
other songs,
yeah.
and I tried to put it out there, and it would not, for the life, allow me to do it. And I
Facebook.
wrote the freaking thing, man.
It took Facebook a long time to figure out the whole licensing thing.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
YouTube has had it figured out for a long time. I get copyright claims all the time on
Oh, I
YouTube
bet.
stuff,
I bet.
right? But the copyright claim, I get the copyright claim when I'm posting the video, because, and guess whose publishing company is making the copyright claim on the audio?
You.
That's right.
It's ridiculous.
So guess who's collecting 100% of the royalties and the ad revenues off those videos?
You.
On your behalf.
Yep. Thanks.
Right? Yeah. And so everything we do is about funneling everything back to the artist.
Right.
Right? And so you don't have to be worried about, you're not giving anything away. And even if you were,
Yeah.
if somebody is going to imitate your work, that's the greatest form of flattery, man.
I think so too. As long
That
as they
mean-
do it
That
justice,
means your product is of value. It also gives you the right to be able to go back on a derivative work and say, you know what? We never gave the rights to record that
right. You can
song.
always fight it. You can always.
Yeah, we don't like it. We don't like it.
Right.
And it, in our estimation, and Bryan Adams does this all the time. If you're at one of his concerts and you record a video of him,
Mhm.
if it's a poor recording, they will come and copyright
They'll take
strike
it away.
it. They'll take it down.
Yeah.
They'll do a takedown. Why? Because it puts him as an artist in a bad light. It's a shitty video. You can't see him. All you can hear is the audio, and the audio is not that great to
Like,
start
or
with.
you stand right beside the bass or something. Yeah.
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 So they have the right to be able to do that. But will he leave one up that's going viral?
Of course
right,
he
he
will.
will. Effing
Yeah.
right, he will. Why?
That's
Because
it.
it's free advertising for his brand, man.
That's right.
It's the greatest form of flattery. Why would you ever copyright strike that? You never
No.
want to do that.
No.
What
Never.
you might do is put a copyright claim and agree to share the revenue with the person that posted. And that's what happens to me all the time.
Right.
Right? Even when we did that one show with Rick Emmett and I featured the Triumph stuff,
Yeah.
we got a copyright claim and we agreed to share the revenue, and it went away.
There you go.
So
That's all you gotta do. Just agree.
if it's going to make any revenue, share it. Why wouldn't you share it? It's benefiting you in the long run. It's putting you way out in front of more people.
Yep.
That's that whole reach thing. We are 3 minutes and counting into overtime here.
Really? Are we? I think we're
All right,
10 minutes.
so we're 10 minutes. We're like 3 periods of overtime.
Oh
So
yeah.
we're heading into the
Yeah.
we're heading to the shootout here.
Yeah.
So the shootout match is there is no winners, there's no losers in all this. It's all about trying to do what's right as an artist. And I can see people, getting upset about this stuff, but if you're doing it right, you can protect yourself.
Yep. You can.
So there we go.
Right. And yeah, just protect your
And
releases.
and we got your back. And you know what? I don't there's no secret sauce here. I'll share with people that are using a DIY approach. If it's working for you, why work with somebody else? You don't need to.
Nope.
You don't have to. If you're happy with the DIY, why a lot of artists end up working with me is because they don't want to be bogged down with some of the business detailing that's related to publishing the music. They just want to produce music,
Right.
and they want to work on their craft, and so they don't want to worry about the publishing and is it going to get here, is it going to get there, but they are willing to work on strategies, and those strategies are working. We'll
Sure.
talk about one of those when we get offline here tonight for
Sure.
a second.
All
All
right.
right. Well, thanks everybody for joining us tonight. This has been Shane from He Said, She Said,
That's me.
formerly of Coaching for Sarah.
Yep.
And you had, Boondoggle and a whole bunch of other projects you've been
Bunch
involved
of
with over
stuff.
the years.
Yeah.
I'm Kenny from Mini Tunes Records, and you are not. This has been the Indie Show.